It was a cool storm on the coast of Florida in the United States in 1622. A Spanish freight vessel that was filled with gold and silver treasures. He was trying to return to Spain. But when it was crossing the Florida system, a horrible hurricane fell into the ash, and within a moment, the ship's head broke. The back paddle is also torn in the intensity of the wave. Within a short time, the Atocha ship sailed deep into the sea. In the middle of this night, at least $500 million worth of treasures went down, and it became an unresolved mystery. However, after 300 years, this invaluable wealth hidden in the bottom of the sea was finally discovered. And no one can ever imagine the amount they were valuable. Basically, when the Atocha ship was submerged on that horrible night, it sailed to a coral island of Florida Keys, which was only a part of the 200-mile small islands. At that time, the location of the ship was known to everyone. But a few weeks later, another hurricane came and cut the ship into pieces and spread its ruins at the bottom of the sea. But the position should be lost forever. However, its wealth has never been lost. The ship had 150 p.m. gold bar, 1,000 silver bar, and 50 o'clock trees boxes. All in all, the value of this wealth was about $500 million today. Over time, many people have come to find this wealth and have sacrificed their lives. But no one found it. But the American Secretarial Mail Fisher was the exception, who spent his whole life spent on a sinking search and with his wife a California one. Diving school used to manage, where he taught more than 60,000 people diving. And in the greed of this autocratic secret, Mel and his family changed the kingdom to Florida and began to find that treasure. Very few equipment was a boat, and they started searching with some metal detectors. They started searching in a place called Metacumbi Keys. But after a 1-year search and more than 1 million miles, they could not find anything. Although it seemed to many it was impossible to find the Atocha ship in this vast ocean. But the Mail got a secret weapon, the historic Eugene Lyon. He went to the Civil Archive in Spain to find out where Atocha was submerged and found a document there. It was a document 4 years after the ship sinking, where there was a search program mentioned. That search was conducted from a place called Marx's Keys, which was more than 100 miles from the place where Mel was looking for. Mel and his team. Immediately they transferred their boats and came to this new place and started searching. But now they were looking for deep water, and their big problem was the deep visibility of the sea. Although the upper part of the water was clear. But the drivers on the floor could not even see their hands properly. So Mel finds a wonderful way. He attached 2 large tubes to his boat that was taken down in front of the propeller. These tubes were able to send down clean water above the water, which used to reach the driver's place to find. It was not only cleaning the water of the water, but it was also digging a large hole and was erupting anything under the hair. Then one day in 1971, he discovered a huge dirty ship below the ball. Although it was not a valuable asset, but it was their first clue. That is probably the real treasure is not too far away. Then some more ancient things come up, such as cups, swords, cannons, balls, and ships to the iron nails used to keep it together. They started making a map to track everything, where the position of the things found was identified. After a while, a clear line begins on the map, and they conclude that the autocratic treasure is probably somewhere along this line, but 2 years. Even after searching, they could not discover anything valuable. Meanwhile, the money of the Mail was also running out, and if they did not find any wealth soon, he would have to stop the search. However, in 1973 they discovered a silver coin and 3 huge silver bars, which was worth more than $1 million. But it was still not clear that it came from Atocha or came from another ship. So they started examining the ship's cargo manifest again. Each gold and silver thing was documented in this document's specific weight and serial number. They can analyze those documents and find out that the number of manifest numbers carved in the silver bar is similar to the number of manifest. They are convinced that the inventions they made were actually the Atocha ship. The team gradually began to clean the coins through electrolysis and sell them and started collecting money. Mel and his team back to business again. They started searching for new technology to find more wealth. But exactly whenever they were starting to achieve some success, the state government of the state of Florida demanded all the wealth found under them. However, Mello started to prevent this claim. Of course, the team also finds some more important objects. For example, 9 bronze cannons were engraved up to the autocratic sign. But one day after they were discovered, one of their boats overturned. As a result, 3 members of their party were also killed. Sadly, they were Male's son. Thus, 3 years passed and the team did not get any new clue, and their search was closed again. Throughout the time of the search, Male used to mention a mysterious document, which was written by a living person to Autocrat. According to that document, the person was smuggling more than 70-pound Colombian emerald precious stones to the ship, although it was not clear yet. However, the Male was completely convinced that the autocratic wealth was not just gold or silver. There were some more valuable metals in it. Meanwhile, after 8 years of legal battle, Mel defeated the Florida government and eventually gained full rights of wealth. However, in late 1970, Male spent $6 million on its search program. But their investment has not yet seen the face of profit. However, everything changed in 1983. One day, they were on the line of wealth. Then the light on their magnetometer suddenly began to shine. The drivers go down and find a few metal objects, which was on the southeast side of the lines of the treasure. They can see a new line by identifying their location on the map, which looked a bit different from the original line. Then, on July 20, 1985, 10 years after 10 years, their sonar scanner sees a huge phase object. The 2 drivers quickly dive into the water. Strangely, about 100 yards away from the Greg Wareham, they found that there was a ship's debris about 80 feet long, on which the gold bars were scattered. There were many gold coins and bars on the side. That was basically the desired secret. The finger sized in the incredibly ruin. Emeraldi is also available. The price was more than $8 million. And then another MRL comes up, which was worth more than $1 million. Finally, more than 2,000 integral MRL they find. You can imagine how much resources hidden in the depths of the sea. Thus, after the 16-year expedition drawn, Male and his team Ottawa found that historic secret.